So that's over $2 million worth of private jets that, get this, sell for just $200,000. No joke, private jets for the price of Honda Odysseys. Well, you guys certainly held up your end of the bargain by blowing up the last 2 storytime videos. Now it's time I fulfill my end of the promise by sharing with you guys my craziest storytime yet. So grab some popcorn and buckle up as I share the crazy story of bidding on 3 crazy jets that were seized by the government with crazy stories, and they all sold crazy cheap at auction. And fair warning, do not fast forward through this video. There is a thick plot line, and if you skip through it, you're gonna be so confused, so sit back and relax and enjoy. And as always, if you guys enjoy this type of content, be sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe so you don't miss future videos. As you guys know, we recently picked up that Cessna Citation. The first 2 videos I posted are nearing 1 million combined views. We got a bunch more videos coming with that jet, talking about the ridiculous cost of maintenance, what our plans are for it with upgrades, things like that, why we bought the jet, flying at more places. Yeah, you're not gonna wanna miss that content, so be sure to subscribe. So where do we begin? I feel like I start out all my story times like that because it's true. There's just so much to unpack here, but I'll try my best to get this done in like 22 minutes and 51 seconds on the dot. No, I'm not kidding, like go look. It's 22 minutes and 51 seconds long. So I got no time to waste. This story begins last year when I was notified about an opportunity to bid on 3 used business jets. Now I'm sure you guys already know this about my brother and I, but if we're given the chance to buy something at auction for a good deal, no matter what it is, we're gonna take it. I mean, you guys can relate to the excitement of an auction, just the thought of bidding on something and getting a steal on it and bidding out the competition and taking home your new purchase. It always makes for a good time. Well, usually, unless you impulse buy something stupid and waste money and then have buyer's remorse, which actually is pretty common when it comes to auctions. But anyway, so far, the majority of the time, my brother and I have done pretty well at these auctions. So I'm immediately intrigued at the opportunity to buy 3 cheap used jets at no reserve at auction. So I immediately replied that yes, I'll be very interested, and they said, great, you know, auction details will come soon with the specifics about the plane. So I'm already hooked at this point and I know nothing about them. But a couple weeks later, sure enough, all the details start to come forward and it paints a clear picture of what's being offered here. And let's just say I quickly find out these aren't just any old cheap business jets. We have a Cessna Citation S2, I'll explain why that's a really cool plane in a bit, a mid-size Hawker 400 series jet, and a Lear 55. I'm like, okay, what's the catch here? Like, this sounds too good to be true. Why are these up for sale? There's always a story. And spoiler alert, there was indeed a huge backstory and reason as to why these planes were being auctioned to the highest bidder. But right out the gate, I'm like, okay, this is looking good. These planes have been sitting for a few years. They're probably gonna sell very cheap. And hey, they're like 40 years old. Who's gonna want them? And maybe if I'm lucky, people won't really know how special that Cessna Citation is. So I'll start with that one. Cessna Citation S2. Obviously now, months later, we have a lot more knowledge about Cessna Citations given that we have one in the hangar. Not this hangar, it's down the street because we can't fit it in this hangar. But back last year, I was just starting to dabble in looking into jets. You know, I probably just went out to go look at the Gulfstream. We didn't win that one. I probably was just getting off those King Air 350 spy planes from the last story time. So I came so close to buying those. I had all this cash ready to go. I wanted to jump on some jet deal. So when these things popped up, I figured, okay, I gotta win one of these. So the S2 is a very special Citation. They didn't make a whole lot of them. In case you don't know the ins and outs of Cessna Citations, which I don't blame you if you don't, because they're super confusing. Citation 1, 2, 3, CJ 1, 2, 3, plus, minus, Encore, Bravo, Latitude, X. I can go on and on and on. But to keep it simple, you guys know we have the Citation 1 or the 501 SP on the channel. And then of course there's the Citation 2, which is a similar vintage. It's a little bit longer, costs a little bit more money. It's got bigger engines. And then there's the S2, this plane. So they take a Citation 2 and they just crank it up a little bit. So it's got beefier engines, it's still single pilot, it can do 400 knots, it's about 2,000 mile nautical range. This thing is a beast and it's highly desirable. They're worth about $1 million, give or take. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what if I can like snatch this thing at auction? If people don't realize it's the S2 and they think it's just a Citation 2, maybe I can like get a smoking deal on it or something. So that was number 1 on my list. Next up was a Lear 55. I don't know much about Lear jets still to this day. I don't know much about them. So I wasn't as attracted to that one, but they're worth about, let's say about $800,000, give or take. And then the third jet, another one I was really interested in is, like I said, a Hawker 400 series. So it's not the Hawker Beechjet 400, which is the light jet. Instead, it's an older version of the Hawker 800, which you guys have probably seen before. This is like the OG Hawker Beechcraft design from the early 70s. So now this jet by modern standards is not very good. They're not worth a whole lot. People don't really want them. They have these old Viper engines which drink a ton of gas, maintenance heavy, and they're just not a very desirable plane. But this one in particular, I always say you gotta have a leg up when it comes to these auctions. And I had a huge leg up on this one because I knew that these engines were swapped for the more modern Honeywell 731 engines, which came on the Hawker 700 and 800 series planes. So this thing was like modernized. They ditched the Viper engines and they replaced them with these Honeywells, which is a great upgrade. So those are the 3 planes available for purchase. Roughly $1 million for the S2, 800K for the Lear 55, and maybe we could say 300K for the old Hawker. So that's over $2 million worth of private jets that, get this, sell for just $200,000. Absolutely insane. And before you race off to the comments,
why the heck did they sell for so cheap? You must be lying. There's no way those planes sold for that little money.
I am telling the truth. It's not clickbait. Let me explain. Real quick, before we get to the climax of this story, I want to give a big shout out and thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Pilot Institute. Now, if you're a longtime viewer, you would know that we have never done a sponsored promotion on this channel. We have self-funded it all, and believe me, it's not cheap. But I am all for supporting companies and products that we actually believe in, and Pilot Institute is most certainly one of them. That's because we literally use it. Pilot Institute is a video lesson library course teaching you what you need to know to be a pilot. Pilot Institute can take you from knowing nothing about flying to having the knowledge you need to pass your written exam in such a short period of time. All the lessons are taught by highly qualified and detailed instructors, making the sometimes daunting curriculum very easy to understand. And they offer courses at all levels. So you can take the one that I'm going through to work toward your private pilot's license, or you can work toward your commercial or your instrument or your drone license. They have them all, so be sure to check them out down below using my special link. For a limited time only, it'll give you an additional $30 off the price of the course, which is already very fair. To think for under $250, you can have access to this massive video lesson library. It's truly awesome what technology and online learning can do, and I can totally speak on that because I am 33% the way through the course, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it, and I know you will too. This isn't some ancient course, it's a brand new course. It has modern editing. It's so easy to cruise through it, and before you know it, I'll be done with it, passing my written and working toward my PPL. So thank you, Pilot Institute, for supporting the channel, making videos like this possible. Now, without further ado, back to the video. I just realized I have to wake up in 3 hours. It's currently 1 a.m. Got to be up at 4, head to the airport because we have a formation flight going over the Grand Canyon at sunrise tomorrow, and I don't want to miss that. Anyway, back to the story time. So it is time to get the bidding underway and hopefully win one of these planes for dirt cheap. Okay, so here's where the story gets real juicy. As you guys know from past videos, I do extensive research before I go spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on various planes. So in this case, I started doing my homework, searching the tail numbers, finding anything I can about them. Previous owner information, I look for previous sales records where I can find more information about the airframe or modifications or the accident history, or make sure that the times all match up to what is currently being advertised. So it's always good to do. And of course, you can do title searches, make sure everything is owned free and clear, and do more due diligence. And let's just say it didn't take me long to figure out the real reason these planes are up for auction, why they were seized by the government, why the owners and pilots were thrown into jail. Let me explain. Let me grab my computer. I'm just gonna read the court document describing it all. I couldn't believe it when I found it. You guys are gonna love this. So let's start with the Learjet. I do some research and I come across this article titled "Customs Agents Arrest Pilots of Learjet Loaded with Weapons." And I'm like, oh gosh, I found it now. Sure enough, I match up the paint scheme and the tail number and all that. It's the same plane. On August 15th, a Venezuelan registered Bombardier Learjet 55 was found loaded with 90 weapons, 63,000 rounds of ammunition, and more than $20,000 in US currency. Customs and Border Protection seized the 18 assault rifles, 6 shotguns, 58 semi-automatic pistols, and nearly $2,700 in checks. In addition to the cash, 2 Venezuelan national pilots were arrested and charged with smuggling cash and goods from the US and illegally possessing firearms as aliens. The CBP raid occurred shortly before the aircraft's planned departure. According to the agents, the crew listed the destination as the Caribbean islands of St. Vincent and Grenadines. Google?
Grenadines.
But the aircraft's ultimate destination was believed to be Venezuela. So they did a random search on it, and it was loaded with grenades, guns, and ammunition. What? That's crazy. That's why that one's at auction. So next up was the Citation S2. So I'm like, okay, well, certainly it can't top that story. Oh, but it does. So I come across this court document from the Southern District of Florida titled United States of America versus, you know, the guy who was arrested in this airplane. So it says, on or around September 20th, 2019, the defendant's aircraft arrived at Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport from Caracas, Venezuela. On board were 2 Venezuelan nationals. The pilot told the United States Customs officer that he had nothing to declare, and the passenger declared that him and his wife were traveling with $24,000 in US currency. CBP officers conducted an examination of the defendant's aircraft at Fort Lauderdale Airport after observing loose rivets and missing screws on the nose compartment of the defendant's aircraft. Upon further examination inside the nose compartment of the defendant's aircraft, the officers discovered a concealed compartment, also known as a trap, underneath flat sheet metal. The trap held bags containing gold bars that weighed approximately 230 pounds. 230 times 16, 3,680 times 1,850. Current price of gold. $6.8 million in gold bars shoved into a trap hole nose compartment of your Cessna Citation. Couldn't believe this. So they admitted that they collected those gold bars in Venezuela to smuggle into the United States for a fee. They were subsequently arrested, and they list all the laws here that they broke, and there's a lot of them. I guess it's very illegal to smuggle in $7 million worth of gold bars on your private jet without declaring them. Good to know. That's some Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street type vibes. So now I'm like, okay, the Hawker's next up. Certainly the story cannot top those first two. And well, yeah, it didn't. I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything on that plane. It's an American N number registered plane. It's not from Venezuela, I don't think, but there wasn't a huge news article break on that one. So who knows exactly what happened, but it was, I think, seized at a similar time, so it was probably involved in the same ring of illegal activity. So things are looking good. I figured these planes are right up my alley. I love a car or a plane with a great story. Then again, that's probably not great for resale value when I go to sell it. So we're up to about a day before the auction starts now. Everything looks like it's smooth sailing. We are good to go to buy these things. And then unfortunately, I get a piece of very unfortunate news, something that I've never seen before, an item up for sale that is required to be used for parts. Yeah, not kidding. A requirement in the sale to be able to bid is that you are a part salvage business and that you will not fly the plane, you will not get a ferry permit for it, you will not disassemble it, ship it over the border and reassemble it in Mexico, you will not sell it complete. There are so many rules. It clearly states that it's for parts. And like when I saw that, I was like, no. Sad to see, because like this Citation S2, like this is a gorgeous plane. I'll show pictures of the panel. It's got Garmin G600 and twin 750s. Like that panel must have cost like $200,000 or more to put in that plane. It's got a beautiful interior. It's got complete logs. These planes have logbooks. Like they're not like the old Gulfstreams with no logbooks. These are aircraft that you could hop in, start up, and theoretically fly. Complete entire planes that unfortunately by law have to be cut up and scrapped after purchase. So I wasn't out yet. I'm like, you know what? I can still bid on these. I don't know what I'm gonna do with planes that I literally have to like take the wings off of and transport out of there within a few days of paying for it. That's the way these auctions work. You have to, you know, all sight unseen. You can't go borescoping the motors or anything like that. You have to pay within 48 hours and then you have to get it out of there quick. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do if I can't even fly the plane? It has to be cut up for pieces. And I'm trying to figure out the parts value of these planes, take off the wings, and then I'm gonna like stuff the fuselage like in my hangar here. And you know, this is the same process I was going through with the $100,000 Gulfstream. It's like, well, what do you do with it? Yeah, sure, maybe you can sell the engines, maybe you can sell some avionics. And then what, you keep the fuselage for like a fake flexor photo shoot, prop studio for like Instagram people. Maybe you could rent it out and make some money that way. Or you just part the whole thing out, or you use the parts to rebuild other planes. At the time, 6 months ago, I wasn't sure what I would do, because if this auction came up now, I would be all over these planes just for their parts. The Cessna Citation engines, they're worth a lot of money used for people to throw on their airframes with timed out engines. That's a big thing with Cessna Citation engines. You rarely overhaul them. You just buy used engines and throw them on. I'll talk about that in a future Citation video, but that would be the case with these engines. Somebody would take them, throw them on their plane, and keep flying their plane. So let's keep on going. The auction begins, and the morning of that auction, after the day of pre-bidding or whatever, the Hawker is at $10,000, literally 10 grand. And then the Citation S2 is at over 100 grand, maybe around 120 grand. So I'm like, okay, well, clearly they're gonna get bid up a lot, but I have a much better chance of winning that Hawker, especially the fact that I know it has the upgraded Honeywell engines. I could probably get a steal on it, so I think I'm gonna go for the Hawker. We're gonna start small, I'm gonna take off the engines, sell them to like a Hawker 700 guy or something, and keep the airframe, or I don't know, give the rest of the airframe to Whistling Diesel to have them destroy on YouTube or something. This auction has a feature where if it gets a bid within the last couple minutes, it'll add time. So I figured, both planes would get bid up a lot, because they're only at like 5% or 10% of their market value, so I figured there was a long way to go. I got so distracted bidding on the cheap Hawker and constantly doing the popcorn bidding, which kept adding a minute, 2 minutes, that I completely forgot to check back in on the Citation that I figured would still be running because I thought it had a lot more room to go, that I completely was oblivious to the fact that it wasn't getting any bids. It got maybe 1 or 2 additional bids, and within a couple minutes, it was already sold. And I completely missed it go by, and looking back, I feel like an idiot because it only sold for, drum roll please, $126,800. I thought it would go for like 200 or 300 grand. Yeah, that one hurt. When I went back to the page, probably like 10 seconds too late, it had already showed sold, and I missed out on it. Because, like I said, that plane, avionics, worth 200K. I mean, that setup, I could maybe swap into a different Citation. I could take those engines and sell them used or swap them onto a timed out Citation. There's just so many other parts on that plane, all the landing gear, all the interior bits, which look very nice. Those parts are worth a fortune, and the whole plane sold for 126 grand. Less than the price of the avionics alone. Now, question for you guys. You guys have been awesome on the past videos, educating my brother and I and helping us so much. You guys have sent us emails regarding the Gulfstream and the spy planes. As for this one, I have a few questions for you guys. So with this avionics package, is it specific to this exact serial number S2? Can it be any S2? Can it be any Citation 2? Or can it be any Citation in the entire family? My question is, in hindsight now, could I have bought this plane for parts and taken the glass panel and put it in our 501, Citation 1? Different models, but they're like close enough. Would that like STC carry over? Is that legal to do, or can I only sell this equipment used to somebody with a Citation S2? If that makes sense. If you can answer that in the comment section down below, that would be great. As for the engines, I'm pretty sure those can be sold and swapped onto any plane that has the availability or the STC to take that JT15D/4B engine is on the S2. Or the interior. Can I swap the interior to a 501, or does it have to stay on the 550 model Citation? That would be wonderful to know so that I can know for the future. But anyway, missed out on that one. That one sold right out the gate, and here I'm still bidding on the stupid Hawker. It's going up so slow. 15 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna win it here soon. So I keep bidding, bid after bid after bid. It's just me and one other guy. I was about to win the plane with like 20 seconds left to go at 14,000 bucks. And then this other dude comes in. And yeah, he just runs me up all the way. So we're at 30 now, 35, 40. I'm still thinking that's a pretty good idea, but I have no idea what this plane's worth. An old Hawker that, yeah, probably in theory could fly, but is destined for parts. I still don't know how strict they are with this, guys. Also, please comment down below, have you ever heard of a plane being required to be scrapped after being seized for illegal activities? But like, how strict are they? Like, can you just disassemble the parts and ship them across the border to Mexico? Or then again, I wouldn't be surprised if some criminal-minded person just bought the plane and literally put in some law-breaking pilot and just took off and flew it to South America, never to come back to America again. Is America really gonna chase them to South America and tell them, hey, you can't fly that plane. Remember we told you to part that out. Like, really? I'm not sure who the winner of the Citation was, if that plane is currently in South America still in one piece, or if it's chopped up into a million pieces by now. I'm not sure. But anyway, the Hawker, it's me and this one other guy going at it. So I'm like, I have no idea what this thing's worth. Yeah, it's got the Honeywell 731 engines. I don't know what those are worth. It's been sitting for like a year, but it's a jet for $40,000, so like, why not bid, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what are the avionics worth on a Hawker 400 series jet? Or like, what's the landing gear worth? What are these parts worth? I have no idea, you guys can educate me on that, but I figured at least 40 grand. So we're at 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, it's still mean one other guy. I'm like, come on, 50 grand, this guy's still bidding against me. 51, 52. I put in my final bid of 53 grand, and what do you know? He outbids me. I watched the clock wind down to zero, and it sold for $53,300 to that other guy I was bidding against. Oh, and if you're wondering, on the Learjet, it sold either earlier that morning or the day before, but I really wasn't going after it. I don't know Learjets. I figured I would either get the Citation or the Hawker, so I just didn't bid, and I think it sold for around 60 or 70 grand. So in hindsight, that was probably a good deal as well. Why couldn't this auction come up now? I would be all over these things knowing what I know now about planes and having a little more experience with like parts values and things like that. I feel like I would have bought all three of these. So that's the $1 million question I ask you guys every video. Did I miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime to acquire $2 million worth of private jets for just a little over $200,000? What do you guys think? For planes that, at least according to America, will never be flown again, cannot be ferried, cannot be sold entirely, would you guys have purchased these planes? I don't know, looking back, I think I missed out on a massive opportunity. What do you guys think? I'd love to see what you think in the comment section down below. You know, everything probably happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And passing on these deals led us to the opportunity of acquiring the 501, which for the record has no crazy story, was never involved in illegal activities. It was a clean and clear aircraft owned outright by a great previous owner, and we just stumbled across the deal on a great plane for a great price that needed nothing. It was airworthy. And thinking about it now, having a really clean, ready to go turnkey jet with no issues is probably a lot better than buying some super cheap thing, needing a lot of work and getting way in over our heads, super deep into serious issues and having a terrible first jet experience. So I'm kind of fortunate everything worked out as it did, and we missed out on the Gulfstreams and those crazy planes that were abandoned. So I'm excited to see what comes next. I don't know if I'll tell the story time of how we nearly bought a beautiful Hawker 800. Again, was involved in some illegal activities. No crazy stories from Venezuela, but this dude did scam millions of dollars out of healthcare providers. Yeah, it's a crazy story. So as always, if you want to hear future storytime videos, or if you want to give me a little motivation to post more content here on JR Aviation, then be sure to smash that like button. It always makes me so happy when I see you guys blowing up a video and a huge comment section full of positive comments. It really means a lot. We wouldn't be doing this without you guys supporting it, and I've had so much fun over the past couple of years posting these videos. Thank you so much. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.